Tracy, just I guess thoughts on Florida State, and then how much basketball has the ability to tape all sorts of games. How much tape do you have of Florida State?
I mean, certainly with the media coverage of regionals and things like that, we have some, but it's not a big part of what we do. I keep saying it over and over. We just try to take care of what we can accomplish. I think by accident I was flipping through some channels probably a week ago. I think it was even their conference tournament, but caught some of their games. They're an impressive ball club. They're always an impressive ball club. Coach Martin does an unbelievable job of building his team on a very sound, disciplined offensive approach, and they certainly have some guys who can pitch it by the numbers they have. But like I said, we're not going to focus. I'm not saying it egotistically, but we're not going to focus too much on them. We're going to stay focused on what we do.
Just talk about the excitement, the first time of the program being this far and such, and what it means to you guys.
Well, I mean, it's unbelievable, but I don't want to make it sound like the storybook is ending as we're here. Our plan is to play certainly beyond this weekend. That's been the plan all weekend all season for our guys. But I don't think you could have scripted it any better than we had up to this point in the season, because the game Friday night, the dramatic win, the opening of the new stadium, and I've had so many emails of people who have never been to a baseball game before coming in here now and saying they're hooked on Indiana baseball. So the excitement piece of playing in the NCAA postseason is huge, but the long-term piece for us is we're excited to build a network of fans and a fan base that hopefully we can carry on this year.
You had a few days to reflect on these past weekend's games and such. What are you able to take away from them moving forward that you saw positive?
Who had a few days?
I mean, I'm sure you've had a few days to reflect. You haven't? Okay.
No, I honestly, I really haven't. And it was funny because I was talking to a good friend of mine, Todd Reed, and he had just said that. He said, you don't even know what happened yet, do you? And it has. It's been a whirlwind. And not only that, we're still in the midst of heavy recruiting. I was out. My son plays baseball, so I was going to watch this regional. So I really haven't had much time to reflect on it. I'm sure when I do, it's going to be positive.
We talked a lot after Friday night's game, obviously, about the guys being a little bit tight with the crowd and everything, and being the first regional. Going to this one, I mean, can you guys go into it with a lot more, just sort of nothing to lose?
I can't remember if I said it in the post game the other night or not, but we finally get to be an underdog, which we've had the target on our back the entire season, or basically from the spring trip on, and that's a tough position to be in because the pressure is on you. And this is the time that we get to. I've been reading the stuff. I've been hearing the quotes out of Tallahassee. Nobody's giving us a chance, so that's okay. We'll go down there and put our best foot forward and see what happens.
Do you like having you guys in that situation? I mean, not that you.
It doesn't bother me. I mean, I think our guys know, they're capable. I think we know the opponent that we're against or what we're up against. A very traditional powerhouse in college baseball. Heck, I've grown up watching the Florida State stuff on TV, and I'm sure my guys have too. So I think everybody's aware of what's going on, but just say you take advantage of your opportunities, and this is a great opportunity.
What do you know about just playing in that ballpark? You said a lot about it.
Yeah, we played there before. We took an Indiana team down there. I can't remember if it was my first or second year. We weren't where we were program-wise as we are right now. Actually, it was Fagley's freshman year because I remember Coach Martin saying something about him afterwards. So it's a fun ballpark to play. I like the dimensions. I think our guys are really looking forward to play there. I'm trying to remember. I'm terrible. It's like I can't remember hotels we stay in, parks we play at. Coach Greenspan was describing the venue, but I don't even remember. I know the crowd. It was just fun. It was a good place to play. So I'm sure it'll be different with a super regional atmosphere component to it, but we're looking forward to it.
Skipper staff ERA is almost 2 runs lower than last year. It's ranked 6th in the country. Yet you realize the national stuff is all about the lineup. What's the difference between last year's pitching staff, this year's pitching staff, and how to get that good?
Better defense. I mean, we've improved defensively, and then when I know that doesn't affect ERAs when there's errors behind you, but it still affects the way that you pitch with runners on base. I think we've improved there. The guys are more mature and having a plan. There's probably more confidence in that and more strikes. I keep saying if you throw strikes, you give yourself a chance to win. And not the lasting ingredient. These guys are pretty talented. And we didn't have Aaron Slegers doing what he was doing last year too. So I think he's a key piece of that too.
How big of an impact the whole thing, the season, the new stadium, the NCAA has on recruiting, and I mean, what does it do? Does it change? Maybe you're more national now than you were before.
Well, we've been national. I don't think we're going to know that until we have a chance to cycle through a couple of these classes. I think where the difference is probably going to play out is in your depth. You know, we were getting quality guys before that, as witnessed by the draft picks that we've had come out of here. But I think it's more on you'll have the ability to get kids come, because they're going to come and they may not take as much of a scholarship, or maybe even some would even take a scholarship to come and be a part of what they had to witness this weekend. I mean, I think if you're a fan, particularly you're a kid who aspires to be a baseball player, you come and take a look at that atmosphere. Now I kind of get a look. Now I'm not saying I'm the same, but I kind of get a little bit about Indiana basketball kids when they come and catch a game in Assembly Hall. You get caught up in it. And so I think we're going to see the residual of that more on the depth end of it to build the depth of our roster.
Forgive me if you've already been asked, but how worried are you, I guess, about the heat? You're playing 3 afternoon games. I think the highs there, high 80s, low 90s. I mean, it's just not something you guys have played in a lot this year.
But a lot lately, that's the practice-wise. That's why we practice the time of day we practice today, and that turf gets pretty hot. So, honestly, not an issue. It just, and I agree with you. We haven't had the opportunity to do that, but baseball guys in the Midwest, you just get yourself ready for all kinds of temperatures. But I bet you if you took a poll of the locker room, said you could play at 92 or 95, or play in 30 or 19-degree wind chill, and we play mostly, I think we'll take the 95 any day of the week. But we'll be smart about it. We're going to try to get down there and practice earlier around Tallahassee and just kind of see what we're up against.
I guess as a coach, I mean, these kids are college kids, and you're going to get really excited about the weekend, the atmosphere and such. How do you limit them from, making mental errors once they do step on the field on Saturday?
Threaten them. Culture, no, that's a joke. No, this is a good group. It's a mature group. We've not had to worry about that. I mean, we played the Ohio State atmosphere was a darn good atmosphere. We were playing for a lot at that time, and our guys handle it. And you got the Mike Basils of the world, and the Schwarbers and the Travises. I mean, people forget that we had 5 guys playing in the Cape Cod Championship game, which was, I think all of that stuff helps prepare you to get to the moment that we're in right now. This team, I do not, for one bit, worry about them getting too riled up on that. And people say, "Well, you're just saying it." No, I'm not. I really don't worry about it. So this is a mature group that handled it all year, and I'll expect the same this weekend.
Coach, took until the 9th inning on that first game for Chad Clark's home run to get the offense clicking. How important in a short 3-game series is it to get game 1 and get started quickly?
I don't know. I mean, we're going to take it, game by game and just take it one at a time. And it's like I think I did one of those in-game interviews, and at that time we were 4th inning or 5th inning when they did that thing, and I said, well, thank goodness, Abner Doubleday made it a 9-inning game, because, and that was before we had the rally in the 9th. It's just we're going to play it to the last out, take one game at a time, and that's the beauty of this thing. You can win 1-0, or you can win 21-0, and to me, it has absolutely zero bearing on the next game. People far too often we talk about momentum and all those things in here, and I think it's true. But this game, it's one guy can neutralize, and that's what we talk about. Like I said, I've read about what they've got down there in terms of crowd and this and that. We're receiving nasty emails in the office from people. It takes one guy to neutralize 6,000 or 7,000 people, and that's the pitcher. And we think we have some guys that can do that.
Speaking of that, I guess with Will's start this weekend, kind of what's the sort of, Will Corson, Kyle Hart question going into Tallahassee?
We're going to go right now. We've got it set. We're going to go Donato game 1, Slager's game 2. If we happen to need a game 3, we'll make that decision at that time. But as I said, going into last weekend, I think his performance, certainly coming out of the conference championship, his performance coming out of what he did here in the regionals certainly puts him in a good position to be highly considered for game 3 if necessary. But I don't want to take anything away from Kyle Hart. I mean, I think Kyle, if we feel the matchup, I don't know enough about them yet, we'll know more, but if we feel the matchup that maybe we need better change change-up or something like that, and then we may go with Hart. But we'll wait and see how they go, and we're going to go one game at a time anyway. And if one of those guys happens to go long relief in one of the first 2 games, I think that would answer our question.
They're also statistically, I think, struggle more against lefties than righties. I mean, do you see having 3 lefty potential weekend starters as an advantage against them?
It could, but I think more importantly with them is they're a very disciplined team offensively. Like they up there in walks, you got to have strikes. So our whole philosophy is we're going to try to pound the strike. Not that we don't, but we're going to throw our strike throwers. Aaron Slager's, he had a not so quality start in the regional, but he's a strike thrower and he's been good for us all year. I'm not going to take the ball out of his hands. He's been too good for us all year.
Is it just the lefty matchup was the reason you decided to go to NATO first, or was that performance thing?
And you've seen him. I mean, I like his mentality too. And we're still not having played them before, not really knowing other than what you hear. They like to bunt, they like to do some different things. I think Joey does a really good job of that. So Joey's kind of that. He's the point man on the what do you call that? Going out on a mission. You're point man, right? You're the guy out front.
Yeah.
Right. He's kind of our point man. We're going to probe the perimeter here a little bit with Donato and see what we got. So that was kind of the decision on that. We think he handles that well.
This is the first time I think you've played through the draft, more or less, or had that as sort of a potential distraction. I guess how do you handle that? I mean, like you said, you got good mentality with these guys, but how do you get them to not consider that during the week?
It's funny you say that. I was at practice today going, as long as we've ever been out here practicing this long at this point in the season. It's funny you chose the word distraction. I guess we're not looking at it like that with this group. I'd say in years past, definitely distraction. I had a couple of the guys in the office this morning talking about some of that stuff, and my comments to them were, these particular guys, this group of draft eligible guys, has handled this whole scenario better than any kids that I've ever coached. And their whole focus, I can tell you, is Indiana University baseball and trying to advance beyond this weekend. They're like, Coach, I'm gonna worry about that when the time comes right now, which I thought was pretty mature. So,
on that note, who do you expect to see go?
You can never predict draft day, but obviously, Slagers is getting certainly some consideration. I think Halstead is based on what he's doing, particularly down the stretch. DeMuth, you read the publications. I mean, you see where these guys are being ranked. I'm hoping somebody gives Basil a chance, but it's a draft is a funny thing. It takes one organization, and as much as you think you've got it figured out, I've been around long enough to know you don't have it figured out. But I would say those guys are probably getting the strongest consideration of the draft eligible guys.